Sellers, congratulations. You found a buyer, you signed the contract, you're already doing the math on what you're gonna walk away with. Then closing day comes, the number may be smaller than you expected. Sometimes it's a lot smaller. Here's what nobody tells first-time sellers in Houston: the sales price, as you know, is not the actual check you get. There are a stack of costs that come out of the sales price on selling your home. So let me tell you exactly what they are before your rookie agent catches you by surprise at the closing table and you're freaking out because you're getting way less than you thought you were gonna get. By the way, if we haven't met yet, I'm Steven Kinne with the Kinne Group. We've been selling real estate for over 20 years in the Houston area, north to south, east to west. We've been at thousands of closing tables and have thousands of 5-star reviews online. Anything real estate you've got, you can trust us, give us a shout, text us, DM us, or call us. We got you covered. Now, let's get right in. So what are your closing costs really? They're just the fees and payoffs associated with getting your home settled and changing hands between you and the buyer, right? For a seller, your closing costs will generally be somewhere between 6 and 8% based upon your home and the situation. Could be more if you have liens, judgments, back taxes, HOA dues, etc. That's gonna be a general range there. And of course, some things are negotiable in real estate transactions. And on a $400,000 to $500,000 house, that can be a lot of money. So let's get in, bear with me. Point one, and this is usually the biggest one, commissions. It's the cost of marketing your home, getting it sold. It's historically been the largest single line item on the seller statement. For years, the number a lot of people have in their mind is commissions are at 6%. The truth is, there's no standard rate. It's negotiable, it varies deal to deal, and it's always been negotiable. Now, the rules around who pays have shifted recently. How the buyer's agent gets compensated is now negotiated. Here's how I advise my clients. We get the full commission structure in writing before we list. That way, the number on your settlement statement is never a surprise, and I'm always upfront about this. A lot of people like to dance around that, and then at the end, they're sad, agent's sad, buyers and sellers are sad, everybody's sad. So regarding commissions, get that covered up front. That way you can focus on marketing, selling, and getting your home under contract with your new buyer. Point two, title and closing fees. This is the Texas part that people don't expect. In Texas, customarily, of course it's negotiable, in Texas, customarily, the seller will pay for the owner's title policy, and that is the seller's offer to the buyer, ensuring them that they are buying the home free and clear of any liens, judgments, and encumbrances. Now, the Texas title policy is actually set by the state. There are title policy loan calculators online. You can check that out. In addition to the title policy, title companies also charge an escrow fee. This is a set amount that buyer and seller are charged equally, usually $500 to $600, and that's the cost of handling the file, getting the paperwork done, facilitating, getting you to the office, paying for your coffee and your snacks at the title closing, at the title company, plus all the facilitation of any title work, gathering your flood certs, gathering your doc prep, gathering all these things together, facilitating the closing. Really, I feel like escrow fees of $500 or $600 are pretty reasonable in the big scheme of things because title companies do a lot of legwork in getting transactions actually to and closing at the table. Point three, property taxes. The seller is going to be liable to give to the buyer at closing property taxes through the day of closing. So let's use May 31st as an example. At closing, the seller, you, will pay the buyer for January, February, March, April, and May's taxes on the settlement statement. Now, a lot of people say, well, I escrow, I've already paid that. Well, your mortgage company is actually holding the taxes for you. So you're gonna have to pay the buyer at closing that amount, and then in 3 to 4 weeks, your mortgage company will then send you a check back for what they've been holding. So there's a little bit of limbo where you're gonna have to cough out more money than you anticipated to cover property taxes for the buyer. Now, let's also talk about HOA transfer and HOA resale certificate deed restrictions. In the contract, if the buyer asks you for a resale certificate and deed restrictions, that's gonna be contractual, where you're gonna have to provide those to the buyer. And there's usually a $400 to $600 charge there, transferring the property into the new buyer's name. But be prepared. If you're in a master plan community, like Bridgeland, like Telfair, like Cross Creek Ranch, like Fulbrook on Foster Creek, like Sienna, there's gonna be either a foundation fee or a cap fee that you're gonna wanna know because they collect those a lot of times coming and going. A lot of times it's substantial, 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, even some neighborhoods are up to 0.5% of the sales price. If you're selling $1 million house, it could be $5,000. So please understand before putting your house on the market, what your HOA is going to charge you. That goes for buyers too, buying and selling. Is there a cap fee, foundation fee, etc.? That is point 3 on what your closing costs consist of. Point 4, and you already know this, your loan payoff. That's probably going to be the biggest one. What is your takeaway? If you got a $500,000 house and you owe $400,000, it's not going to be that much. If you've got a $500,000 house and it's paid it down to $100,000, well, you're going to have a little bit of cha-ching. Enough for a luxury cruise, at least. Probably a little bit more, maybe an Escalade. Whatever you owe on your mortgage gets paid off in full at closing, and that's not just your principal, that's interest right up into the amount of your payoff date. And a lot of people get confused because they'll say, hey, this is more than my principal balance. Your principal balance is not your payoff because your payoff adds that interest. And when your bank sends over the payoff, they usually include a 10-day payoff, which is 10 additional days of cushion. Don't worry, after closing, you will get that back. You can request a payoff statement. You'll kind of know exactly what you're looking at. That's paying off your mortgage. And point 5, the stuff you agree upon during the deal, concessions, repair negotiations, I'll paint this, I'll leave this, I'll buy you this. All the stuff that you negotiate during the transaction will come up on your closing statement. There's a couple things you can't do here. You can't get big kickbacks for allowances and furniture allowances and carpet allowances, etc. Last stuff goes into what's called a seller's concession for repairs, etc. But there are limits on that, so be sure to get with your agent on that. Concessions, that varies case by case, so we won't dive detail into that. If you got a new house, you're probably gonna have less concessions than if you have a house built in 1970 or 1956. There's probably a lot of repairs that you may be negotiating. That's point 5. And one bonus thing, good news for Texas sellers, we have no state income tax, and that's part of why our property taxes run a little bit higher. And on your primary residence, federal law lets a lot of sellers exclude a big chunk of their gain from capital gains tax, $250,000 for single if you've been in your home for more than a couple of years, and up to $500,000 in profit for married couples if it's been your primary residence. I'm not your CPA, right? So check with your tax pro on this. Don't take the advice from me. Get with them, especially if this wasn't your primary residence the whole time. But for most first-time home sellers, the gain is going to be yours to keep. Good news, good news. You get to keep some tax-free money. Love it, right? So closing costs as a Houston seller usually land between that 6 and 8% range, plus whatever's on your loan. Don't forget you got to pay off your loan. That includes commissions, titles, prorated taxes, HOA transfer, resale certificate, concessions, etc. Maybe more if you got a lot of concessions. Those are 5 buckets where your closing costs are going to consist of when selling your home in the Houston area. If you want help going through these costs directly on your home, we're always here. I'm Steve Kinne with the Kinne Group. Call, DM, text anytime. And if you like this video, feel free to check out our other videos. We're always here to help. I'm Steve Kinne.